In June of 2020, Santa Monica-based game development studio Naughty Dog released The Last of Us Part 2, the sequel to 2013's beloved The Last of Us, which is not just a video game but a philosophical understanding of the human condition, set in a similar yet even more dangerous post-apocalyptic America like its predecessor. The game challenges the morality of players behind the notion of justice. What is justice? How far would you go to get justice for the ones that you love? Are there any lines that you draw? These are some questions that prevail the most in The Last of Us Part 2. And the vehicle that Naughty Dog chose to ask these questions from the players is Ellie, a character in her lost youth trying to make sense of the world surrounding her after the death of a beloved one, her father. How the death of a miraculously good man continues to affect her ability to let go of a pain that has turned her into a broken spirit. This is Ellie's story, and The Last of Us is nothing without Ellie's story. So bear with me for the next few minutes as we delve deeper and deeper into the effects of the tragedy that befell Ellie. A perfect sequel indeed.
Because of her, they were actually going to make a cure. The only catch, it would kill her.
The Last of Us Part 2 begins precisely where the first game left off, plunging us back into the aftermath of a choice so profound that its full weight might not have been truly grasped back in 2013.
Swear to me that everything that you said about the Fireflies is true.
Followed by the last ride back to Jackson with our beloved protagonist to fulfill the greatest promise he made to Ellie, playing the strings of their eternal bond. And once again reminding us why Joel and us the players agreed with saving this little kid instead of humanity. Yet as the strings of their eternal bond play softly, one shadow looms over the fragile beauty of their relationship. The lie that binds them as much as it divides them. The lie that will doom their relationship. The ending of The Last of Us left audiences divided in their interpretations. For some, it was an open invitation to a sequel.
She has a very good bullshit detector. She knows something doesn't feel right.
How long can you really live with accepting a lie like that?
Hinting at unfinished threads and future possibilities. Others yearned for a return to the familiar dynamic of Joel and Ellie. Meanwhile, many viewed it as a complete and singular narrative, self-contained in its brilliance. But the landscape of these interpretations shifted irrevocably when Naughty Dog unveiled The Last of Us Part 2 at PlayStation Experience in 2016. Neil Druckmann, the writer behind the Last of Us series, revealed in the Grounded 2 documentary that the inclusion of Part 2 in the title was a deliberate choice, a statement meant to intensify the unease of the fanbase, while emphasizing that this was not just a sequel, but a continuation of a singular, unified narrative. This was a story they had long yearned to tell, the truest successor to The Last of Us.
I'm gonna find... and I'm gonna kill every last one of them.
Significant portion of The Last of Us Part 2 unfolds 4 years after the events of the first game. Yet the intervening years are far away from a blank slate. They are a crucible where the bond between Joel and Ellie is both strengthened and, well, sadly, strained. These years swing between the soaring height of their deepening connection and the devastating depths of their fractured trust, laying the groundwork for this emotional sequel. My personal favorite part of the game, the birthday flashback, stands as one of the most important and unforgettable moments in the Last of Us series. It embodies everything fans wanted after the first game. Joel and Ellie sharing pure, unguarded joy in a world that rarely allows it. In this fleeting moment, Joel opens up about Sarah, breaking a silence that had once seemed unbreakable. After months of relative peace in Jackson, it feels as though these characters have finally found something more than mere survival. Jackson appears unshakable, a sanctuary where nothing could possibly go wrong, or so they believe. But most importantly, the emptiness that once haunted Joel, the void left by unimaginable loss, has been wholly filled by his bond with Ellie, his surrogate daughter.
If I ever were to lose you, I'd surely lose myself.
In her, he finds a sense of purpose and belonging that seemed forever out of reach, transforming his life in ways he could have never foreseen. In all essence, this is not the same Joel Miller we met in the beginning of The Last of Us Part 1. For her, Joel is willing to do anything, even if it means scavenging the remnants of a shattered world to find a cassette that captures the wonder of space travel in a way that transcends their harsh reality. Ellie has become his anchor, his purpose, and his redemption. If Joel ever were to lose Ellie, he truly would lose himself. And in this moment, we witness a rare and profound happiness between them.
Our future days. Days of
A joy that feels all the more precious in a world so often devoid of it. Their bond now feels unbreakable, a testament to the love and trust they've built against all odds. Yet the harsh reality of their world looms ever near, only to be reminded of the truth, a truth that will inevitably catch up with Joel and Ellie.
Just say it.
A year later, the cracks in Joel and Ellie's bond become impossible to ignore.
I'd talk to him.
Well, you have to do more than hi and bye.
Marked by a silence and awkwardness that grows heavier with time. Through Ellie's journal, we glimpse the unraveling of their once unshakable connection. Deep down, Ellie never truly believed Joel's lie, but the weight of it now festers alongside the haunting memories of those she's lost. Riley, Tess, Sam, and Henry. Each name kills the Ellie we once knew, leaving a shadow of the girl she used to be. The tension finally reaches a breaking point when they stumble upon the lifeless bodies of Sydney and Adam. If only they were immune, right?
We traveled across the entire country to bring me to the Fireflies. I had so many questions for them. Why did you pull me out of there while I was still unconscious?
Surprisingly, Joel doubles down on his lie.
There was no cure. There's nothing that could help these people or anybody else.
Insisting yet again that there was no cure. But beneath the surface, we see Ellie silently rejecting his words, her doubts festering with each passing moment, constantly wondering if something terrible happened at the Firefly Hospital, and there was only one way to find out.
Even if we found her, or by some miracle found someone else that's immune.
Making a vaccine would have killed you.
It made no difference.
So I stopped them.
Because the only person who could develop a vaccine is dead.
Don't you fucking touch me! I'll go back. But we're done.
In an instant, the crushing weight of Joel's lie suffocates Ellie, shattering everything she has ever wanted. It feels like a deep betrayal. Someone she trusted with her very life is responsible for robbing her of her one chance at redemption. In that moment, Ellie is consumed by the belief that her entire journey, her sacrifice, has been rendered meaningless. It is a betrayal not just of trust, but of hope itself. Ellie's pain is only deepened by the isolation that follows, unable to speak to the one person she cares about in this world. All because of his lies and the choices he made. Her grief becomes not just about the truth, but about the fracture in the relationship, a rift that Joel created. And while I personally empathize with Joel and the complex motivations behind his choices, it's impossible not to understand why Ellie reacts the way she does. Her sense of betrayal runs deep, and the weight of it is a force that cannot be ignored. Knowing that Ellie was aware of Joel's lie recontextualizes the entire present-day narrative, adding layers of complexity to her choices. How could she have ever agreed to embark on this journey, knowing that it was directly shaped by the events at St. Mary's Hospital? And as we approach the present day, it becomes painfully clear that Joel and Ellie's relationship has nearly reached its breaking point.
I don't need your fucking help, Joel.
The trust that once defined their bond has been eroded, and the emotional distance between them is undeniable. The weight of Joel's choices and Ellie's anger have driven them to the brink of devastating collapse, leaving both of them standing on the edge of what feels like an irreversible end.
I was supposed to die in that hospital. My life would have fucking mattered. But you took that from me.
If somehow the Lord gave me a second chance at that moment, I would do it all over again.
I don't think I can ever forgive you for that. But I would like to try.
I'd like that.
At this moment, Ellie chooses to try to forgive Joel and embrace the possibility of a happier life with him. Even though she still struggles to fully understand the motivations behind his choices, she recognizes that the only way to move forward is through a powerful emotion: empathy. It is this empathy that allows her to accept him and find a path toward healing together. But little does Ellie know, the next morning will bring to life her greatest fear.
Pin her down! Get off me! Get her hand! Get the fuck off me!
You got her! Look, you got her! Okay?
Joel, get up. Joel, fucking get up! Please stop! Please don't shoot! Joel, please get up! No!
A series of emotions so complex to understand that it can only lead to the path of destruction. Every action she takes will be haunted by the pain and agony of Joel's death, and her quest will no longer be about revenge. It will be about silencing the screams echoing in her mind. Driven by the need to quiet the constant pain, she will stop at nothing, willing to pay any price to end the eternal chaos that has consumed her. And even though the death of Joel Miller will drive Ellie to the brink of destruction, who is she and why did she kill Joel?
I haven't always done the right thing.
You're a piece of shit, Abby.
Mel's wrong. You know, you're a good person. You don't know me. I know enough.
After experiencing Joel and Ellie's perspective throughout The Last of Us series, Naughty Dog simply asked us to witness the story of this so-called enemy, a monster seemingly built for the sole purpose of destruction and pain. And that's when Neil Druckmann revealed a truth that we probably never considered.
No!
Don't look.
Dad! Dad! No! No!
Joel killed Abby's father, and ironically, Abby sees Joel as the very same monster we believed her to be. After the events of St. Mary's Hospital, Joel and Ellie lived a relatively peaceful life in Jackson, at least for a little while. But Joel's actions at the Firefly Hospital came with dire consequences for both Ellie and Abby. For Ellie, it shattered her belief that her sacrifice for a cure was her purpose, while for Abby, it flipped her entire life upside down in a single night. Abby Anderson was the daughter of the head Firefly at St. Mary's Operation Base. Her father, Jerry Anderson, shaped her with both a soft interior and exterior. A loving, ideal father, he never hesitated to listen to the silly teenage stories of his child, even in a world that offered little room for such things.
This character that you saw as a monster to now get you to see things from her perspective, and how this crew is a bunch of people trying to survive in this world, and they had their reasons for pursuing and finding Joel and killing him.
These people had their own interests, their own loved ones, their own giraffe moments with those loved ones. Most importantly, they had their own purpose: to follow the light, to believe in the Fireflies, and to believe in a cure. When Joel entered the lives of the Salt Lake crew and all the other Fireflies, he didn't just kill the only person capable of developing a vaccine. He stole their purpose, everything they had ever believed in. And while I understand Joel's actions to save Ellie, I also understand why these people see him as nothing but a monster. In all honesty, they would have never thought how Joel's actions could have stemmed out of love for a little kid. They don't know Joel and Ellie. All they know is that a smuggler murdered the Fireflies and Abby's dad. And so these people carried deep hatred for Joel Miller, holding on to it for years of their lives, teenage lives, a time when people are just starting to shape their identity and ideology. This hatred has evolved into a driving force among them. The need for justice, the desire to kill Joel. It's a constant frustration and anger they now have to live with. And it doesn't really help that the Fireflies were disbanded after Joel killed Marlene, for who knows how long Abby and her friends were just roaming around the US before hearing rumblings of Isaac Dixon from a war-torn Seattle. Far as we know, Isaac was a friend of Jerry Anderson, Abby's father, which is why he brought the Salt Lake crew together and assigned them roles under the Washington Liberation Front, or the WLF. After taking the city from Fedra, the WLF is now at war with this group called the Seraphites. For some of the Salt Lake crew, Manny, Mel, and Nora, they found a new sense of purpose to fight the intruders of this strange city and fight for a land that they have no real connection to. It's a purpose that's arguably even more disastrous than pursuing Joel, but still, it's what keeps them alive. And it's important to understand that they haven't forgiven Joel, but the possibility of them ever finding him just seems very little to them. A year after Jerry's death, Abby is the only one still fixated on seeking justice for her father. While her friends climb the ranks of Isaac's WLF as per their skills, Abby feels alone, isolated in her need to end the nightmares and face the monster who killed her father. She starts lifting weights, determined to match what she imagines to be Joel's strength. After all, a man who could take down all those Fireflies must possess a level of strength that's necessary for direct confrontation. At least, that's what she thinks.
Holy shit! Look at you!
Pushed 185 pounds yesterday.
The WLF is very abundant with food, resources, livestock, and even a literal gym. All of this only fuels Abby's transformation into a machine of destruction, pulling her further away from the softer side her father had once nurtured in her. And Isaac seizes on this obsession, and as a result, Abby becomes his top scar killer.
I just don't understand how anybody willingly joins the Scars.
And among the Salt Lake crew, Owen is the only one left trying to show Abby her father's way.
All right, here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna get your ass over here, sit on the edge, or you can go down here on the kid seat and look at this view with me.
We can't miss training.
Because truth be told, if it was up to Jerry, would he ever wanted Abby to destroy her relationships, her dreams, her peace just to kill Joel? Owen wants Abby to be happy, to show her the seals at this fish zoo, to talk about their dreams, to help her overcome her fears, and to remind her how much he loves her.
But we can choose to be happy. Happy. We're allowed to be happy.
But will Abby's obsession free her from her pain? No. Instead, it's slowly turning into something that will inflict her pain on others.
I know all the leads have dried up. But Joel's still out there, you know?
She's so fixated on finding Joel that the cost doesn't matter, even if it means losing the love of her life. Or as Gustavo Santaolalla so perfectly captures in the game's soundtrack, it can't last.
Owen!
A few years later, after their breakup, Abby surprises Owen at the aquarium in an unusually good mood. Owen, relieved, thinks that Abby has finally moved on from Joel and is maybe ready to start rekindling their relationship. But instead, she brings exactly what he fears the most. She is still obsessed with ruining her life.
Abby, when the moon comes
I found Joel's brother. He's at a settlement out in Wyoming.
They all head to Jackson, Wyoming, hoping to track down Joel's brother, Tommy Miller. At this point, they haven't figured out exactly what they'll do once they reach the town, but it seems like they weren't really expecting to find Joel himself there. She travels over 800 miles from Seattle to Wyoming with her friends, essentially risking all of their lives to reach the settlement of Jackson, a paradise of peace in this godforsaken world. It's important to note that when Owen sees the sprawling settlement, he just refuses to continue, citing the dangers that could put everyone's life at risk. But Abby refuses to listen to him. She insists on moving forward, even when Owen informs her of their pregnant friend, Mel. She is not letting her father's killer roam free when she's potentially about to hear where he has been all these years. For if she finds Joel, she can finally move on from the pain she has suffered all these years. For her, Joel doesn't have any purpose or even a life. He is just a monstrosity who needs to be put to an end. This is kind of the same philosophy of justice that takes over Ellie later in the game, and of course us the players. In the midst of this blizzard, she stumbles upon Tommy and Joel, and when she brings them back to their mansion, everyone in the room knows what's about to happen when they hear the name Joel.
Y'all act like you heard of us or something.
'Cause they have.
No! Get the other one! Laura, all clear?
He's out. Put him against the wall.
Tommy!
Joel Miller.
When she starts to torture Joel, she realizes that Joel really isn't the monster she had imagined him to be. Instead, she corners him without needing to rely on the physical strength she spent the last 4 years building, something that broke her relationship with Owen.
Why don't you say whatever speech you got rehearsed and get this over with?
And moreover, Joel shows no regret, fully aware that this day might eventually come. And because Joel shows no remorse, Abby beats him until she starts to feel something resembling relief. Everyone in the room has to hear Joel's grunts as Abby tries to find some peace, but she never does. Instead, she only passes her pain on to Ellie.
Get up. Joel, fucking get up. Please don't do this. Joel, please get up.
In Joel, Abby saw nothing but the enemy. And if there's one person who would have been deeply disappointed in her that day, it would be Jerry Anderson. She became the very thing she sought to destroy, a wolf killing sheep. Not only did she put Ellie through the same pain she endured, but now because of her, everyone in that room will have to face Ellie's wrath.
I can't let you leave. I'm not gonna fight you.
After covering every beat from Ellie to Abby up until Joel's death, and examining what these women have been through, I think it's only natural to say that their stories cannot exist without one another. Abby and Ellie complement and reflect each other. But what exactly does this say about the greater themes of this game? Violence has a cost. It's ruined Abby's life, and now it's gonna ruin Ellie's.
You can't stop this.
A 4-year struggle of frustration filled with many questions ended for both Ellie and Abby the day Joel died. For Ellie, It was the moment she finally learned that the man she had despised all these years because of his lies was the most patient and loving man she would ever get to know. And for Abby, she learns that no amount of violence can bring her own loving and patient father back. But just because they got their answers, it doesn't mean that they are now free from the pain that they have had to live with all these years. Instead, it's just the beginning, where a confused, angry, heartbroken Ellie visits the vibrant Seattle for the first time in search of those who have wronged her. A similarly confused Abby returns to the same city where she spent her past few years. The same people, the same pain of losing her father. Everything is the same as before she left for Jackson. The only difference is that the drive to kill Joel, the one who wronged her, is no longer there. Killing him didn't change anything. It did not bring her the relief she believed it would, nor the answer she sought, for the pain and loss still lingered, unresolved and unhealed. So what now? At this point, Abby doesn't really have any purpose, nothing to look forward to, and arguably this is the lowest point in her life. Her friends think of her as nothing but a monster after watching the violence she's capable of inducing, much like how Dina is shocked by the violence Tommy and Ellie can unleash in Ellie's story. But unlike Abby, Ellie still has a purpose, even if that purpose has been tainted by the evils of destruction, a far cry from her once innocent beginnings.
I don't think I can ever forgive you for that. But I would like to try.
Ellie's purpose is to find the one who stole her of a chance to forgive Joel, to begin to understand what greater purpose he believed she had. But the lens she will have to go to find her will corrode every bit of her humanity, ultimately pulling her further and further away from Joel. So much of the day one for both Ellie and Abby is meant to help us understand what's at stake, where these characters are emotionally, and the significance of the people around them. Dina, Jesse, Tommy, the WLF, Owen, Mel, Manny, how these people impact Ellie and Abby, and what these characters will ultimately sacrifice to reach their respective narrative conclusions. The entirety of Day 1 explores Ellie's descent into obsession. Through her journal, we see the conflicting thoughts she wrestles with as she embarks on this journey. But time and again, her pain silences any positive questions she has had about her path. It's an attempt to numb her feelings, and more importantly, an attempt to numb any trace of humanity she might see in her enemy. Where Abby has had her conflicting thoughts too, albeit they are for a much better cause than Ellie's. It's about her ascent from nothing short of a plague of darkness.
Those fucking kids.
Both of these women find themselves listening to their gut feelings and dreams. Ellie remembers possibly the happiest day of her life. I can't let that man die for nothing, she says to herself. Meanwhile, Abby feels guilty about many things, but one in particular. The same is suggested by her dreams. I can travel 800 miles to go to Jackson and bring more pain in this world, but somehow I can't save these two little kids, just a few miles away from me. They have done nothing wrong, but I can't help them because they are the enemy. These are the questions we find Abby asking herself, in the form of subtext supported by her feelings of guilt. Because truth be told, how much of herself has Abby lost in the pursuit of the enemy? She has done that once, and she's not gonna do it again.
What are you doing? I'm giving her a chance.
I love that at her core, Abby is a protector.
Mm-hmm.
She's Joel.
She's Joel.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, okay? I didn't want to be a burden.
Well, you're a burden now, aren't you?
Abby, who are these kids? They saved my life. Can you take a look at her?
And so Day 2 will test the humanity of both of these characters in the paths they've chosen. Ellie's world of destruction continues to challenge her morality. From leaving a sick Dina alone in a strange city to involving more of her people in her relentless quest for vengeance as she navigates the treacherous lands of Hillcrest. On the other hand, Abby has chosen to help the sick. And through this act, she's found a sense of peace, something she had hoped to feel after killing Joel. Helping these kids has become her way of seeking redemption.
What's going on between you and your friend Owen?
Oh my god, Lev, now?
It seemed really awkward. Just go!
And as Abby learns to confront her greatest fear,
Holy shit, Lev!
crossing the sky bridge and learning to love her enemy, we as players begin to see her differently.
What happened to us?
Maybe we stopped looking for the light.
She goes through so much to help these kids that we couldn't stop ourselves to think,
After all we've been through, everything that I've done, it can't be for nothing.
enemies become allies and guilt transforms into hope. Yara and Lev are the light guiding Abby through this journey. For once, her father, Jerry Anderson, would have been proud of her as we finally see Abby waking up on her own terms for the first time in the game. And while things have been hopeful for Abby for the first time, we see Ellie continuing to descend further and further until she's truly lost in the darkness.
Could have killed you.
Maybe you should have. Or maybe you should have stayed the fuck out of Jackson.
Just as much Abby finds herself ascending, Ellie finds herself falling deeper and deeper. Just when we think Day 2 has tested both the players and the characters enough, Day 3 pushes them even further, challenging their capacity for sacrifice in defiance of the paths they've chosen.
The best way to help Tommy is to go after Abby.
Ellie loses the last shred of her humanity when she chooses not to follow Tommy, while Abby fights through hell to protect Yara and Lev. But the ultimate sacrifice has yet to come, the death of Yara.
She's gone. Oh my god, she's gone. Come on. Those were your fucking people.
You're my people!
Listen to me. We're gonna have to fight to get out of this, okay? And then I need you to show us to those boats. We don't let anybody stop us. Yeah?
We don't let anybody stop us. This is what Abby says to Lev. And for the first time in the game, her words reflect a conviction born not out of hatred, but out of love. The ugly reality of hatred, vengeance, and tribalism is laid bare before us. And while it might feel like we're moving further and further away from it, in a moment of truth, we realize we're only getting closer to it. How often do we forget that we are both the architects and the victims of our own paths? The line perfectly captures the fate of Ellie, Abby, and us the players. Abby's actions caught up to her, and now it's Ellie's turn. The same venom that once consumed Abby again runs her world. And most importantly, Naughty Dog places the weight of Ellie's actions squarely in our hands.
We let you both live. And you wasted it!
As our protagonists cut, slit, and stab each other, we realize that Naughty Dog has succeeded in what they were trying to do, to blur the lines of us versus them. We don't want either of these women to get hurt, and in the moment when retribution seems to be the most fitting,
she's pregnant. Good. Abby!
Lev saves us from one more tragedy. After what can only be described as some of the most depressing and uncomfortable hours in the gaming history, we find ourselves back in Ellie's shoes.
Hey, you know what? I'm gonna teach you how to play guitar. When your hands are bigger. And you're not pooping your pants all the time.
And for a brief moment, everything seems perfect. Our young protagonist is living the life she's always dreamed of, surrounded by a loving wife and a cute little ball of muscle.
Potato, potato, my little big potato.
Dancing in a world far removed from the sufferings they have endured. But as we start to read between the lines, we see the cracks. Ellie can't eat, she can't sleep. She's still haunted by the violence of her past. And yet maybe, just maybe, she can try to... In a flash, everything comes back. The pain, the guilt, the obsession, the trauma, everything. And just with a little push from Tommy, Ellie sets out to finish this quest once and for all. After arguably the most violent push in the game, where we face the worst of humanity, slavery, tragedy, humiliation, all combined, we fight through it with no noble intention. We finally find Abby. She's nowhere near the strong, brawling monster Ellie once saw her to be. Somehow, Ellie tries to part ways, after leaving everything and everyone behind to reach this point. But once again, with no control of her own, we watch Ellie sink to the deepest of waters.
He's not a part of this. You made him a part of this.
And just like that, once again, as Maxwell's thrilling music plays, we take part in the helplessness of these women, pushing each other to their edges. And when the moment finally comes for Ellie to bring justice to her father, to end all the suffering she has been through, she backs out.
No. Just take him.
Being by myself. I'm scared of ending up alone. I was supposed to die in that hospital. My life would have fucking mattered. But you took that from me.
Throughout these games, we watch our protagonists make choices that are undeniably wrong, yet they continue to make them because they have no control over themselves. In other words, Joel and Abby lacked the strength to move on. And the events of this game show us that Ellie is no different. But by the end, after everything she has endured, Ellie somehow finds the strength to truly attempt to forgive both Abby and, most importantly, Joel. For if she kills Abby, she will lose the only chance to forgive Joel.
I don't think I can ever forgive you for that. But I would like to try.
Why back out at the last moment after everything you have been through? This internal sentiment has only been amplified by the ambiguous nature of this ending. What I think is that it's an ending that promises to find the Ellie we once knew. That funny little kid.
Look at me! I'm a motherfucking dinosaur!
Ellie tries to leave behind the tragedy that has befell her. Where is she going? We don't know. But as Neil Druckmann has already said...
So it does feel like there's probably one more chapter to the story.
I am sure that we will find out.